I can't see who's viewing. It says 0 viewers.
You see something? Yeah.
Hey there, this is Phil Jackson with Purview. I'm coming to you live via Google Hangouts, a new way of engaging with folks today. It's a lunch and learn. on OsiriX 6.0, recently released by Antoine Rosette and the folks at Pixmeo. So we have a nice little presentation and some and we're going to take a look at OsiriX 6.0 and help you understand what the new features and functionality look like. We'll do a brief Q&A session at the end. This probably won't go longer than 15 minutes or so, as we wanted to keep the presentation scaled appropriately for your lunch. Okay, we've got our slides up on the screen here. Just be patient with me for just a minute. I'm still getting used to Google Hangouts. So that we can keep an eye on the broadcast, I'm going to go ahead and look at these slides in the Keynote application, which will be a little bit easier for me. And we're going to go ahead and get started. So some great features in OsiriX 6.0. Going to roll through them real quickly and help you understand what they are, what they look like. The first feature that's truly beneficial to individuals managing images in their enterprise environment: query retrieve of multiple defined locations in the OsiriX application at once, which is actually really powerful. And we'll talk a little bit about how that works and how you can make best use of that. If you're using OsiriX to manage medical imaging workflow in your practice and you're auto-routing studies to other locations, OsiriX now will automatically delete studies after successful routing. We'll show you how to get that set up. OsiriX 6.0 introduces the latest version of Weasis 2.0.2. We'll show you briefly how to set up the web viewer and use the Weasis application. You can now unify patient IDs. So if a study is imported from a CD that's come from an outpatient radiology practice, possibly, and you have studies in your image archive that are the same patient but different demographic information, perhaps medical record number is different, date of birth is different, you can now unify those. You can copy the metadata from your server over to your study that you've imported seamlessly. Something we won't demonstrate, but is certainly worth mentioning: compatibility with OS 10.10 and a number of bugs and crashes that have been addressed. So the first capability that Pixmeo has built into OsiriX 6.0, which is really powerful, is the ability to see imaging studies throughout your organization on multiple PACS systems through a single query to your OsiriX application. So a good example of this is a graphic that Antoine Rosette had posted. In this graphic, we can see a single OsiriX proxy, as Antoine referred to it. This would be a single instance of OsiriX running on a device that has a local database, so images have been stored on the local database, but locations have been set up on that same OsiriX workstation. For example, perhaps to a Siemens workstation, another OsiriX workstation in the practice, maybe your web portal, maybe your enterprise PACS system. So those connections have all been built under locations. When you query the OsiriX single instance of OsiriX that's running, you'll be able to see all of the studies that exist on those other systems as well. So it provides you a way to interrogate multiple PACS systems for imaging studies and present them all in one query retrieve to your workstation, to another workstation in your facility. We have a screen grab here of where you need to activate that capability. So if you have multiple locations defined in OsiriX, and you want to activate that capability, it's in the OsiriX listener preferences. And I'm going to go ahead and back out of my keynote real quick and open up OsiriX. Here we go. Got OsiriX open. We've got a bunch of demo data in here. This is all demo data. If we go to OsiriX and go to preferences and we go to locations, you'll see we have a number of locations defined. I'm going to delete some of those for the purposes of our demo. The only location that I really want in here is our demo instance. If we go back to the preferences and we go to general, actually we need to go to listener, sorry. You're going to see down here for WADO, cget, cfind, and cmove search, all local databases listed in locations. So it's under other options, and you need to check that. Now, if you go to another workstation and query this version of OsiriX running on your workstation, you'll not only see the studies that are in the local database, but you'll see any studies that are on the other locations, the locations that are defined in your location settings. You'll see all of those studies as well. So you can see the use case here. If you have, again, multiple PACS systems in your environment, think of a hospital that might have a cardiology PACS, might have a radiology PACS, a neurosurgery PACS, an OBGYN PACS for ultrasound. You could list all of those systems in your locations settings, enable the feature under your listener preferences, and when individuals query this OsiriX, they'll not only get the results in the local database, but the results of all of those other systems as well. Really incredible new capability there. It turns OsiriX into almost a proxy server, if you will, and can be just an incredible benefit to your organization. Can certainly help consolidate image management, make it easier for users to get access to imaging. A number of our customers use OsiriX beyond just being an image viewer. They use it to manage studies more efficiently in their practice. In a lot of cases, OsiriX is a wonderful image router. So when it receives images, perhaps studies have been loaded in, ingested in, off of CD or DVD. Perhaps they've been sent to an OsiriX workstation or server. OsiriX has the ability to intelligently route those images to other locations. And in the past, these image routers have become burdened by lots of imaging data that ends up residing on these routers. And we've been hopeful that someday the ability to delete studies after they're routed would be added to the OsiriX application. And in 6.0, this capability is now available. We want to take a look at that real quick, and we'll show you how to activate that. So if you go into OsiriX again and go to Preferences, which is where all these cool capabilities typically hang out, we're going to go to the routing rules, and you can see that I don't have any routing rules currently enabled. I'm going to change that. I'm going to activate auto routing, and I'm going to add a new routing rule. And an example is perhaps I want all CT scans imported to OsiriX to go to Purview Cloud. Okay, this is the Purview Cloud demo instance that we have set up. Purview is a cloud-based image management company. We do a lot of work storing people's medical images in our cloud. A lot of our customers will have an OsiriX workstation in their practice that they'll import CDs into, and then the images automatically go to our cloud for safekeeping. So in this example, imagine a CT scan that's getting imported into OsiriX, and we want all of those images to go directly to Purview's cloud. And we're going to assign a database filter. The default filter will get the job done. It's going to automatically send CT scans to the destination. That's the filter that is inserted by default. And now we're going to check auto deletion. So if a study is successfully transferred to the remote destination, we're going to delete that file from the workstation. And that's all you need to do. And this allows you to manage a cleaner database with less data, that if it is successfully transferred to a remote destination, it's going to automatically get deleted. It's a great new feature. So one of the challenges that we certainly have, with OsiriX is bringing it into new practices that use PCs everywhere, right? So you've got all of these PCs already you've already invested in them, and you want to use OsiriX maybe in a few locations for diagnostic review of images. So you've got a couple of key workstations with big screens that you use for diagnostic review of data, but you might want to be able to review patient data on a computer in an exam room, for example, to share with a patient or to quickly look at it to size up a fracture. And putting Macs in every exam room may not be entirely feasible for you. So OsiriX enables a web-based server that you can use throughout your practice to get access to those images on computers. And I want to show you how to set that up. Weasis is a Java-based medical image viewer that works on any platform, so it extends access to your imaging to non-Mac and Mac clients throughout your practice. So we want to make sure that you're using OsiriX for your primary diagnosis, but you may use Weasis to review a study with a patient. It does require Java, which is becoming a little more of a nuisance these days with Oracle having taken control of Java. Weasis is becoming a very mature medical image viewer, so it goes now beyond just being a 2D viewer and provides more advanced capability like MIP MPR. So it's certainly becoming robust. And I want to show you how to enable the web server in OsiriX so that you can get access to these images in other parts of your practice. So we're going to, I'm going to pause sharing real quick while I get this set up. All right. I'll start sharing my screen again here. And we're back into OsiriX 6.0. Again, I'm running the latest release of OsiriX, just for those of you who might be curious. You can always find out what version of OsiriX you're running by clicking on OsiriX and looking down in the bottom right-hand corner. I'm running version 6.0, 32-bit. It's the free version from the OsiriX website. Just run that on my laptop. If you are using OsiriX for diagnostic use, you want to make sure you're using the FDA-approved version. That's OsiriX MD. You can get that through Purview, or you can get it through the Pixmeo website. We're talking about setting up the web server, and we're going to do that by clicking on OsiriX and going to Preferences. And we're going to click on the web server under Sharing. It's got the little icon there that looks like Safari. And we're going to make sure that we've got the built-in web server enabled. It's the one up in the top left-hand corner. Activate the built-in web server. We're going to make sure that's checked. We're going to make note of the port that the web server is running in, 3333. We're going to confirm that we've got a couple of options checked down here. Most importantly, we want to authorize Weasis and OsiriX as web viewer. So we want to make sure that Weasis is able to be used. We want to generate logging events, because if you're using this in an environment that requires compliance with things like HIPAA, we want to make sure we have a log of all of the access to the system. And we want to require user authentication. We don't want just anyone accessing these images over the web, especially if the computer that OsiriX is on is publicly available on the internet. And once we have users authentication checked, we're going to edit our users. And we're going to make sure we have a user that's defined in the local web server settings. You'll see here I have a user, P. Jackson, and I've assigned that user a password. I'm going to reset it. I'm going to make it password, not exactly a secure password. Please use something more complex when you implement this. Lots of options here that let you do lots of different things. We're going to not necessarily focus on all of those. We're really focusing on the latest version of Weasis 2.0.2 in this demonstration. We're going to go ahead and close out of our preferences. We're going to open our web browser, and we're going to navigate to the local OsiriX database on our system. You'll see I typed in localhost. That can be replaced by the IP address of your computer, and I've entered in the port, which is 3333. Having a complex port here just ensures additional security as you make this available over the internet, either on your local area network, or if your computer is publicly available on the internet, it will, of course, be available over the internet. Enter your username and password, and click Login. And you'll see that we're now in the OsiriX web portal, where we can search studies. I'm going to search all studies, and I'm going to open up a CT data set here. I think I'm going to open up Jennifer Morgan. I'm going to click the Weasis icon, which is the little upside down A, looks like, the far right-hand icon. And it's going to open up a JNLP file, which will launch Java. So you have to click on that, and it launches the Java Weasis viewer here. It's loading right now. And it's going to load my study. I can see the series on the left-hand side here. It's loading up all of the imaging studies. It's loading up the imaging series, I'm sorry. And you can see we have a couple of series here. We have a 3D reconstructed data set. We have a large multi-sliced, thin sliced data set. I'm going to open that data set up right here, and I can navigate through that data set, but I also have the ability to use MIP NPR. And that reconstruction will occur right in the Weasis application. So we have the ability to reconstruct that data in the sagittal and axial and coronal planes. Very valuable tool, has become available in more recent versions of Weasis. Of course, this is 2.0.2, and can be a powerful tool in your practice to extend access to your non-Mac computers. Again, this is non-diagnostic because it's not FDA approved or CE marked. Depending on where you're located, this may be just fine to use. Geographically, may just be fine to use as your primary diagnosis utility. In the United States, of course, if you're doing primary diagnosis, you do need FDA-approved software. All right, so that is Weasis 2.0.2. We're real excited to see that in OsiriX 6.0. One of my favorite new features is the ability to copy patient demographics from your production environment, from your PACS server, wherever, from your cloud account, from your Purview cloud account, to a study that you've imported that might not share the same patient demographic information. So for example, if you're working in a hospital and a patient has had several imaging studies done in your hospital, and a patient has brought in outside imaging, and that outside imaging has probably a different medical record number because the patient was seen in a different facility, probably has a different spelling or use of case in the patient name. You can now unify the imported study and with studies that are in your PACS environment, in your cloud account. So this is called Unify Identity. It's a great new feature. It allows you to drag the study from your environment where the information is correct on top of the study that isn't correct, and merge that information. So I'm going to show you how to do that right now. It's not exactly obvious, but it makes a lot of sense. We're going to pretend that this anonymized data set right here is the one that we've imported. I'm going to go ahead and query my PACS system. This is my, my cloud account at Purview. And I'm going to find the patient's study. Let's see here. Benjamin Jackson. This is actually Benjamin Jackson's CT scan. I'm going to drag the study on top of the data set that I've imported. And I'm going to unify the identity at the patient level, not at the study level. I'm not going to generate a new unique study instance UID. However, this could be useful if your PACS system won't allow a study to be sent in with a different study instance UID. And I'm going to go ahead and press OK. And you'll see that OsiriX is automatically updating all of the metadata of the study that I imported with Benjamin Jackson's demographic information. So we have his patient ID, his age, his patient name. All of that information has been updated an incredibly useful tool. As you reconcile data across multiple systems, as you import data from different systems. And as we know, OsiriX sometimes has issues, and those issues do get documented. We call them bugs and crashes. And with OsiriX 6.0, Antoine Rosette and his team at Pixmio have addressed over 17 reproducible bugs and 16 crashes. So a lot of progress there on making the application more stable, more user-friendly. So my name's Phil Jackson. I'm one of the founders of Purview. I've been working with OsiriX for many, many years. If you have questions about OsiriX, we'd encourage you to reach out to us. My email address is here below, pjackson@purview.net, and you can also email experts@purview.net. For more information about Purview and about OsiriX, we'd encourage you to visit our new blog, OsiriXexperts.com, where you can find information about the OsiriX application, how to use it, find video tutorials, and ask questions where the community will respond. It's maybe a more valuable tool than than what else is out there right now. We think it's incredibly valuable to our users. We've seen lots of questions get posted in the near future. Two products that can be incredibly valuable to you as an OsiriX user: Purview Vibe, which provides technical support for OsiriX. We don't just fix it when it's broke. We also provide you clinical support so that you can make the most use of the OsiriX application. Purview Vision is our fully managed OsiriX workstation. You buy Purview Vision through us, you receive a workstation, regular software updates, OsiriX MD, telephone support, the whole 9 yards. And it's really a meaningful use of OsiriX in your practice to allow you to get the support that you need. You can read more about these products at those links below. Follow us on Twitter. I forgot to mention that. There's our Twitter handle, OsiriX Experts. We certainly thank all of you for attending our Lunch and Learn today. We hope you learned something new about OsiriX 6.0. If you have any questions, feel free to reach out to us and have a good rest of the day. Bye.